Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be competing soon and the first competition that I'm going to be doing is the Beijing FINA Diving World Series. And because I'm competing soon, I wanted to share with you exactly what dives I'm going to be doing and what all they mean, because sometimes people can watch diving and get completely confused about what they're watching. So this is my first dive in my list. I know that was very quick, but that was a reverse 3.5 somersaults with tuck. The degree of difficulty on it is 3.4. For many of you, that might have just gone right over your head, so we're going to slow it down. You start facing forward, you jump forwards, but then you rotate backwards towards the board. So it's the most dangerous group and the dangerous direction of all the dives, because it's the one that if you hit your head, it can be fatal. So it is one that you definitely want to make sure that you get far enough away from the board that you don't hit it, but not too far where the judges can deduct points. The other key that we make sure that we're focusing on is jumping as high as we can, being as neat in a tuck shape as we can, kicking out as tight as we can when we see our spot, looking back for the water and entering the water with no splash at all. That's the aim. Doesn't always work out like that, but I like to open up with reverse 3.5 because it's one of my favorites. The next dive in my list is the easiest dive out of all of them that I do, and that is an inward 3.5 somersaults with tuck. Has a degree of difficulty of 3.2. But this one, you stand backwards to the water, you jump backwards and rotate forwards towards the board, again bringing your head quite close to the platform, but from a young age, we learn exactly the distance that we need to be away from the platform so that we don't hit our heads. But the things that we focus on for this dive is making sure we get as high as we can off the board, squeezing into a really tight and neat tuck shape. The aim is to have your feet together, your knees can pull slightly apart, and I do split a little bit too much sometimes, but we do 3 somersaults and then we come out into a pike out, which is basically a pike shape that controls the speed of the somersault, because when you're spinning in the tuck shape, it makes it really, really fast. So coming out into a pike out makes it so that you can see the water and see exactly where you're going to hit the water, so you can go in there with the least splash possible. The next dive in my list, dive number 3, is a forward 3.5 somersaults with 1 twist piked, otherwise known as the firework. It has 3.6 degree difficulty. I was actually the first person ever to do this dive in competition on 10 meter. Jane and I, my coach, we learnt it from a trick that we saw on YouTube on a Russian swing, and we took a circus trick and made it an Olympic dive. It was quite a crazy experience and a long ride, but this dive, you start at the back of the board, you run to the end, you throw as hard as you can, you get into your pike shape, spin as fast as you can in that, and after 2.5 somersaults, you flick out as hard as you can and wrap into a twist. You do 1 single twist, you check out, re-pike, and then you hit the water. It can be quite a difficult dive to get right in competition, as it is my newest dive, but you have to take the risk. The next dive in my list, dive number 4, is a back arm stand triple somersault pike with a degree of difficulty of 3.5. This arm stand dive is one of the more technically difficult dives that you can perform. You start in the handstand, you bend your arms, you bend your legs at the same time to get a donkey kick to be able to generate enough momentum to be able to perform 3 somersaults, and after the time that you spot the water for the 3rd time, you look up underneath the platform and then back at the water and hoping that you've landed vertical with a splashless entry. It's a pretty difficult one to do, but in competition, it's one of my faves. Dive number 5 in my list order is a forward 4.5 somersaults with tuck, my most difficult dive at 3.7. Now with this dive, it's another running approach. So I start at the back of the board, run towards the end, jump as high and as up as I possibly can without hitting the board, grab my legs into a tuck shape or like a cannonball type shape, spin 4.5 times. The G-force is pretty intense actually, so you're being pulled apart from your shape, but you have to squeeze in as tight as you can, and then just at the right moment, pike out quickly, and then go into the water vertical with no splash, trying to keep your feet together, legs straight and toes pointed, all at the same time. The final dive in my list is a back 3.5 somersaults piked. It has a degree of difficulty of 3.6. I put this dive last in my list because it is one of my most consistent and favourite dives. You start facing backwards, jump as high as you can, rotate backwards 3.5 times. And each time we spin, like a dancer would spot a wall as they're twisting, we spot the water every single time we're spinning around. So each time we see the water, we'll see it 3 times, and then after the 3rd time, you spot underneath the diving board, you'll put your feet there, and then look back for the water, and then grab your hands as tight and as solidly as you can to hit the water, break your wrists, create the vacuum to suck all the water underneath with you, and hopefully come up to some great scores from the judges. So I hope you enjoyed that little insight into exactly what I do in my competition dives. Those are all the dives that I perform, just 6 of them in the prelims, the semis and the finals at the Olympics, at the World Championships, World Series, whatever it is. But the next competition I'm going to be in is the Beijing Diving World Series in not very long now, like just over 2 weeks exactly. I'm going to be competing on that platform in Beijing. So make sure you look out for that. But for now, if you want to see the vlogs from my time in Beijing and also a little bit from the competition, now you understand a little bit more, make sure you're subscribed. Give this video a thumbs up if you understand a little bit more about diving. If you have any more questions, leave a little comment in the comment box below and I'll get back to you. But for now, see you later.